Okay, so on today's episode of Rare, I am welcoming Dr. Rahul Agrawal. So welcome, Rahul. So Rahul is a senior executive leader with a blend of big pharma and biotech experience across different functions, including R&D, medical affairs, commercial and strategy experience in various therapeutic areas, including rare and orphan. So Rahul has contributed to the clinical development and commercialization of multiple drugs regionally and globally, including lifecycle programs for established products. And he has led and or co-designed close to 30 clinical trials with over 200,000 patients and has launched 7 drugs on a global, regional and national level, to name just a few achievements. So welcome, Rahul. Can you talk us a little bit through your journey so far?
Thank you very much, Laura, for the very kind introduction. And yes, allow me to just say a few words. Um, as a cardiologist and a physician scientist, I've been very fortunate to have been part of and also lead very exciting developments and commercializations of compounds, but together with incredible teams. It always, I feel, takes a good mix of curiosity, drive for innovation, and entrepreneurial thinking, in a group of people to really achieve several milestones and do something good for patients, because this is what it's all about. So I've had the good fortune to be on both sides, if I may say so, of the fence. I worked in R&D, but also on the commercial side. And indication-wise, similarly as you were indicating, in large indications, in cardiovascular, metabolism, renal, but also rare diseases as well. So I've seen several aspects and I've been fortunate enough to be involved in several launches as well.
Right. And so there is quite a bit of news available out there regarding rare diseases. But can you talk us through the definitions and the terms used of rare and orphan indications?
Sure, very gladly so. And allow me to start maybe just getting down to the basics, because though the exact definitions vary to some extent across geographies and also organizations, but the name actually already implies what makes a disease rare is how prevalent it is. So the numbers of individuals living with that disease. For example, in the United States, a rare disease is designated as such if it affects fewer than 200,000 in the US. In Europe, a rare disease is defined if it affects less than 50 per 100,000. The WHO, World Health Organization, has used a similar definition of 65 individuals per 100,000. So, all in all, we're talking about a number ranging around 300 to 350 million people, but the number is rising, I have to say, due to A, higher awareness, but also better diagnostics. So this is what we are talking about when we talk about rare orphan indications, keeping in mind that all of those together do make a huge chunk of patients.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And so why is it important to consider them as a therapy?
So, apart from the definitions we just talked about, I think we should keep a few facts in mind. Number one, rare diseases are often genetic. So, approximately 70% have a genetic origin, and that has been published over and over again now. Second thing that we should keep in mind is that approximately two-thirds of those living with a rare disease are children. What does that mean? That means that naturally it not only affects the children, but of course their parents, family, and the community all in all. Usually, these rare diseases are incurable, and about 95% of all rare diseases, and this is something which we have to keep in mind, so far do not have any treatment. So a lot of work still has to be done. And there are a lot of areas which medically, scientifically have not been covered so far.
Yeah, that's a massive percentage
It
of
is.
patients with no treatment. So in your opinion, then, why is big pharma commercially interested in that field? Is it more commercial or reputational drivers?
Of course, it's both. But I mean, if we, of course, name some obvious commercial factors, if you look at the numbers, the global rare disease treatment market has already reached close to $200 billion in 2022. But the estimation, if you look at the compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of more than 8%, 8.5%, then the projection is that the value of the entire market will be way over $400 billion in the next 5 to 7 years. So that is a huge market we're talking about. Number two, of course, fueling the whole growth of rare diseases is the faster pace of innovation. And we should keep that in mind that also, not only, but thanks to rare diseases, of course, the pace of innovation has increased dramatically. And we can translate that also for large indications and take learnings from that. So that is one more thing. Third factor is, of course, that, as I was mentioning, many of the rare diseases are or have a genetic cause. But the genetic solutions, their costs are getting lower and lower. What do I mean by that? The cost, for example, of genetic or genomic sequencing has fallen to just a few $1,000s compared to several millions and millions of dollars that it used to cost just a few years back. So there are naturally opportunities, but one should also keep in mind that there are challenges that we have to consider. Number one, rare diseases, as already the term indicates, little is known about the diseases. So that means there is little experience, uh, which we can learn from. But of course, the patient pools are also smaller. That translates into that the clinical trials are, of course, harder to perform. And of course, the evidence creation is not that easy to get. And another aspect that, of course, is often in the news and which is maybe a consequence of the numbers is that the patient access is sometimes harder. And naturally, there are some pricing issues as well. So we should keep these in mind. But nevertheless, apart from all of this, I think there are many, many opportunities because the regulatory bodies, especially the FDA and the EMA, are really forthcoming when it comes to designing clinical trials, when it comes to defining endpoints, when it comes to including patient voices and patient groups, because they have the most experience, they have the best knowledge of what is important, how to include patient-reported outcomes into the endpoints. So they often provide an invaluable source of knowledge as well. So all in all, there is a lot of opportunity out there in the field of rare and orphan indications.
Yeah, no, that's great. So thanks a lot, Rahul, for featuring today and for providing your insights based on your vast experience. It's been great to have you on today.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure, and thanks for having me.